7 a.m. now on our Monday morning. This morning, Gonzaga is going dancing. Up ahead, what you need to know about the first matchup, plus tips to filling out your bracket.
New data shows people in Northeast Spokane are especially worried about their financial situations during the ongoing pandemic. Coming up, we'll explain why COVID restrictions have disproportionately affected the people in that area.
And the sun is up, clouds are covered, and we got a couple of sprinkles. I'll walk you through what to expect on this Monday.
Up with KREM begins now.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Up with KREM. This morning, we are celebrating the Zags. The Gonzaga men's basketball team is the overall #1 seed heading into the NCAA tournament.
And of course, Eastern Washington University also received a 14 seed in the tournament. We're going to be talking all March Madness all morning long here on Up with KREM. But today, there will also be even more excitement on the way because the selection show for the women's tournament will most likely include more teams from our region heading to Indy. A lot to talk about, Jen. Lots of suggestions for how to fill out your bracket, but a lot to celebrate too.
Yeah, it's a good day to be from the Inland Northwest. Not only can we root for the Zags, we can root for the Eags as well. And of course, we want to mention too for the Gonzaga women, their selection program is coming up later this afternoon. They'll figure out who they're going to play in the NCAA tournament as well.
Question, quick. When do I have to have my bracket filled out by?
By the first game.
When's that?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. I got time.
Thursday? Yes,
Yeah.
Thursday.
All right. Diving into weather now. But yeah, Thursday. All right. I'm gonna do my best. It's cloudy. We got a couple of sprinkles coming down out here in the weather center. That's kind of been the case for about an hour now. You can see them on the ground, but a lot of them are drying just about as fast as they fall. We're sitting comfortably at 42 degrees here in Spokane and close to there across much of the Inland Northwest. Still a little cooler up in Sandpoint at 34, but now sun is officially up. It took a little longer today because we all kicked our clocks forward. And there we go, a couple of those light spotty showers popping up on the radar. That's what's going to take us through the day. A very similar weather pattern. It's going to be those kind of isolated pop-up showers this morning by this afternoon. It's all about the clouds. We got the moisture. We just don't have enough to really squeeze that out of the atmosphere or any energy to do so. So clouds kind of stick around through the rest of the day as temperatures slowly start to climb. How warm do you want to get? Oh no, sorry, we can't do 60 again, but I can maybe do a 50 for you. We'll be dry and mild later on this afternoon. That's about where we should be this time of year in terms of temps. But coming up, I'll walk you through another warm-up in our forecast.
7:03 now. Well, Washington Governor Jay Inslee is pushing for all schools to resume in-person learning. He issued that emergency proclamation Friday for schools to make it available by April 19th. Nicole Hernandez tells us more about the state's decision and what it will mean for parents and students. Hi, Nicole.
Yeah, Jen, good morning. So right now here at LC, you can see these high schoolers behind me are going into classrooms here. That has been going on for a couple of weeks now as students here in Spokane have gotten back to in-person learning for specifically those high schoolers and middle schoolers. But that's something that Governor Jay Inslee wants for the rest of the state. The biggest reason for that is because isolation is actually causing a lot of trouble for some of these students right now. So there's some data that the state has that says that remote-only instruction has led to an increase in absences, especially among middle and high schoolers, and a significant uptick in failing grades. Right now, half of the state's elementary school students have some access to in-person learning, but 40% of middle schoolers and only 30% of high schoolers have that same access. Now, every district will be required to have something for their students.
We're doing this because we have experienced a mental health crisis for many of our children, and this will provide them an option that suits their needs of their families.
Experts say this impacts especially underprivileged communities especially hard.
Here at Swedish, we have seen an extraordinary increase in the number of emergency department and inpatient admissions due to psychiatric and behavioral health issues, a lot of stress, suicidal ideation, just suicidal attempts.
So here's the timeline. The governor's order will mandate in-classroom learning be available April 5th for kindergarteners through 6th graders. and April 19th for 7th grade through 12th grades. And it's important to note that that doesn't mean that all students will be in person all the time. The things that are happening here, like those hybrid in-person online classes, is exactly what Governor Inslee needs for these students. So not much might change here in Spokane, but that's something that will be happening more and more across the state of Washington. Live in Spokane, I'm Nicole Hernandez.
Nicole, thank you. Well, this morning, the Gonzaga Bulldogs are waking up in Indianapolis. The men are the #1 overall seed for the NCAA tournament. They're also at the top of the AP Top 25 poll. They finished the regular season undefeated. Here's a look at the reaction after securing that #1 seed.
And of course, they knew they were going into the tournament, but still great to see them make that #1 spot. And after this video was taken, they immediately got on a bus, headed for Indy, and Gonzaga is getting ready now to take on the winner of Appalachian State and Norfolk State on Saturday. That game will be held at 6:20 p.m. on TBS. And we want to know what you think of the tournament. Any thoughts you have? And Dana Marie, what are your thoughts?
Oh, as a Zag myself, I'm rooting for them all the way, but of course that's not everyone's opinion. But do you think the Zags will go to the final round of the NCAA tournament this year? Now, it would be the first time in the program's history if they win the national championship. So let us know. We have a live Twitter poll on social media right now. 91% of you are saying yes, you do think, but there is 8% saying no. So if you don't think that they're going to make it to the final round, text me 509-448-2000 and tell me how far they will go. You can see your comment here on Up with KREM coming up in the next half hour.
Dana Marie, thank you. Well, this morning a new study shows people living in Northeast Spokane are worried about losing their housing. A quarter of those surveyed say they feel hopeless.
These are hardworking families that are doing everything they can, and this is just overwhelming.
Coming up, the organization behind the survey shares concerns about one of the poorest and most diverse regions in our community and the state.
And this week here on Up with KREM, with more students back in the classroom for in-person learning, a growing number of health advocates are worried about another increase in teen e-cigarette use.
3.6 million kids around our nation are still using e-cigarettes. It is at the exact same level that it was at when the Surgeon General in 2018 declared it a national youth epidemic.
You might remember in 2019 there was a temporary ban on flavored vape products in Washington. Now advocates are asking for policymakers to create permanent legislation to protect kids. It's coming up tomorrow on Up with KREM.